Mobile games have never really held my interest for long, but there are some out there that I have some attachment to. Today I wanted to look back on one that I can still enjoy even today despite some of its issues, so as Van Halen would say, might as well jump. Don't forget to leave a like if you didn't understand the intro joke. This will be my most liked video in no time flat. Hello everybody, I'm Garrula64, and today I'd like to guide you down the river of nostalgia to something that I had almost forgotten about. Sure, Sonic's had plenty of mobile ventures in the last several years, some even surpassing their console counterparts, but I don't think any are quite as interesting as a little game called Sonic Jump.
Lie detected!
Okay, I'll admit, I just lied to you, but we all know Sonic Runners is a lot more interesting, though PatMac already made a video that covers everything perfectly, so don't ever expect me to try my hand at that. It's not needed. On the surface, it looks like nothing more than your average jumping game, but buried deep within lies an ambitious title that actually calls back to something long lost due to the evolution of our cellular devices. Now, before we discuss Sonic Jump, let me introduce you to Sonic Jump. If you lived in Japan between the years of 2001 to 2007, you might be familiar with Sega's Sonic Cafe, a phone service that allowed you to access a number of Sonic titles from the comfort of your cell phone. As you might expect, playing anything on a T-Mobile flip phone probably isn't that fun. I can actually vouch a little bit for that, because I had this Spyro game on mine, and while it could have been a lot worse, just try playing a platformer with buttons made for baby ants, I dare you. But that brings us to today's focus. Sonic Jump released in 2005 on Sega Cafe, and 2007 everywhere else under the Sega Mobile brand. To be honest, we got ripped off over here, because Sega Mobile only had like 5 games over the course of 4 years, whereas Sonic Cafe got 37 over 7 years. We may never know the joys found within games like Shadow Shoot, Amy's American Page 1, or Tails Flying Get. Or actually, maybe we will, since you can still emulate all these puppies in glorious 240p, a handful of frames per second. Only the lowest of definitions will do this justice. Back on topic, sorry. There's a lot of history associated with this thing, and it's honestly pretty fun. So Sonic Jump 2005, or Java Jump as I'm going to keep calling it because you play it on Java devices, if you've played the 2012 version, it won't look all that different, gameplay-wise at least. To those with functioning eyeballs, however, you'll notice a striking visual difference. My eyeballs, in particular, jumped for joy when I found out the entire game is styled after Sonic Advance, the arguably greatest sprite style in the entire series. Look, I love the classics, but come on. Where would early Newgrounds Flash animation be without these perfect pixels? Your main goal in this game is still to guide Sonic to the top of the level while racking up points and dodging enemies, but this game also has the added challenge of attempting to reach the goal with at least 50 rings, which nets you a Chaos Emerald Shard. Yeah, imagine that. Java Jump did Chaos Emerald Shards before Sonic Battle. I guess you're called a copy robot for a reason, my friend. Each world contains 3 Chaos Emerald Shards, 1 for each level, and I believe getting all of them unlocks this final world here, but for reasons I'll mention in a bit, I decided to forego that trial. To my utter bewilderment, this game actually has somewhat of a story to it, unlike the 2012 version that just has a few, granted very visually appealing story scenes. It's about as basic as stories come. Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles realize Eggman is doing a bad thing, so they chase him to the ends of the Earth and then to space just to make him feel bad. There's also something about South America in there. It's kind of weird since they don't ever name drop any other real locations, but I mean, whatever, I can roll with it. The story also shows off these really nice character portraits that, to my knowledge, have never been used in anything else. My favorite thing about these is almost every single one makes the characters look fairly upset and or constipated. It's honestly a shame these are locked in 240p hell for the rest of eternity, because they'd make some really great reaction images. When jumping through the stages, you'll encounter self-explanatory things, such as springs, rings, and badniks, but you'll also come across these hoops. Some simply grant you extra points, but others, if entered from below, will shoot Sonic upwards, greatly reducing the chances that the controls will mess up and throw Sonic into the unforgiving depths below. You're gonna want to figure these things out because later on in the game, they are absolutely mandatory. That's gotta be my one gripe with this game, though. I don't really know if it was an issue with the emulator or just the game, but every so often my controls would lock up, I'd die, and then I'd have to go all the way back to my last checkpoint. And this game has a live system, so getting a game over because of that stuff? Not exactly my favorite thing in the world. Other than that trivial problem, this game is actually really enjoyable, and I sat down and played through the entire thing while recording footage for this. In fact, I was originally only going to reference this version and then go on with the show, so to speak, but after experiencing it, I felt the need to share the good word of Java Jump while I was at it. It's not really that long, and it's not that challenging until the very end. It's just a very fun little time with some bumpin' tunes and fun level aesthetics. Now, after all that praise, how excited would you be if I said this game got a sequel? And how disappointed would you be if I said that sequel was not worth anything? Aww. Sonic Jump 2 came out in 2008 on the Sega mobile servers. Weird tidbit though, never came to Sonic Cafe. Not sure if that shut down before it was made, or maybe they just rebranded to Sega Mobile over there as well, but y'all didn't miss out on much if you didn't get it. Sonic Jump 2 is Sonic Jump, except they took the story out of it. Not gonna lie to you guys, I played this for 6 minutes and then gave up on it. And also, psych, you've been looking at Sonic Jump 1 footage again, and I bet you didn't even notice. The only thing that would have tipped me off is that the only version I could find was entirely in Portuguese, but it's not like it matters since we ain't seen Constipated Eggman today. And the absolute best part about this copy and paste game was that IGN rated the original Jump a 5 and Jump 2 a 7. And frankly, that concerns me, because 5 is only 0.2 points away from Sonic 06, and 7 is the exact same rating they gave Sonic Mania. So, since they're pretty much the same, do we add both scores up? Is this actually the highest rated game in both recorded and unrecorded history? Gonna go with yes on that one, because imagine the fallout of Ocarina of Time getting dethroned by a cell phone game from 2005. And a Sonic game, no less. I, for one, welcome Total Anarchy. Jumping ahead to 2012, see what I did there? The version you're most likely familiar with hit virtual shelves, and I'm not surprised it did, since everyone and their grandma was hopping onto that mobile market bandwagon. This wasn't the first Sonic game to hit iOS and Android, but it was one of the first totally original ones, as most of the others were ports or altered versions of the console games. For example, Sonic 4 Episode 1 was actually pretty different from its console counterpart, but that didn't save it from being horrible regardless. Sorry, Sonic 4 fans, Mania retconned this train wreck for a reason. I played this game religiously back when it came out. Despite the gameplay being rather simple, there was enough packed into this thing with its 5 zones, level-up system complete with missions that ranged from fun to impossible, and of course, my favorite part of the entire ordeal, the multiple playable characters you could unlock. Unlike the original version, Sonic ain't romping around in his moon shoes alone this time. The likes of Tails, Knuckles, Amy, Rouge, Blaze, and even Silver get in on the action as well, all with their own unique playstyles, which I'll touch on in just a minute, because oh boy do I have a lot to say about that. So there actually is another reason I went more in depth with the original game aside from just enjoying it. Jump 2012 is actually a pseudo-remake of its Java brother. Each zone, aside from Cosmic Zone, has been lovingly recreated at a much higher res, and even the accompanying music has had a facelift. That being said, the levels are totally different, and the original story was replaced with some very basic dialogue-less scenes featuring some very nicely stylized art of our heroes basically watching Eggman fly around as if they were flying a kite at the park. There are 10 levels this time around instead of just 3, and on the 5th and 10th level of every zone, you'll fight Eggman to the death, and depending on what character you're playing as, that isn't actually a joke. The boss fights in Java Jump weren't anything special, but they at least channeled the spirit of the main series games by sticking Eggman in a crazy contraption that does next to nothing to stop the onslaught brought about by every woodland creature this side of the Mississippi. But in Jump 2012, we're treated to some very boring bosses that all look the same and are fought the exact same way. All you gotta do is wait until he's done attacking, dodge him when he flies upwards, and then you hit him, rinse and repeat 2 more times, and then Eggman goes home crying, wondering where he went wrong. Now these either can be incredibly easy, or you can make them so unnecessarily challenging that upon victory, nothing outside of strangling the life out of your phone could ever make you happy for the foreseeable future. This self-imposed challenge can be activated by simply picking someone that isn't Sonic or Blaze. Can't speak for Knuckles or Tails since I wasn't about to pay to unlock all of them. You can unlock them with just rings, but I wasn't going to spend weeks leveling up to be able to do that. But Rouge, Amy, and Silver? Definitely not worth spending money on. I figured that one out for you. Don't worry about it. Don't try it. Sonic's main ability is a double jump, which in a game like this is a godsend. It'll allow you to correct a bad jump, or take the fight to Eggman faster than people will run to defend Sonic Unleashed after someone says even something slightly negative about it. And from personal experience, I can tell you that is very fast. The other characters also have a double jump, but how they're executed and what happens afterwards is what makes them worse. For example, Amy flies upwards, swinging her hammer around for extra reach, but this comes at the cost of her being so slow. It's almost a guaranteed death sentence in boss fights. Meanwhile, Silver isn't quite as slow as Amy, but instead of landing as soon as his double jump concludes, he hovers in place for a moment so that you can further correct your jumps, or alternatively, allow Eggman to hit you for the 10th time, resulting in your immediate demise. Sure, working to unlock these guys is a reward in itself, but I just don't enjoy the handicaps that come from playing as them. There were also actually a couple unused things found within the game's code that never saw the light of day, including a couple fan-favorite characters, and Cosmic Zone, yet another returning location from Java Jump. Shadow, Cream, and Vector unfortunately had to take the bench for this one, but they most likely would have functioned somewhat similarly to Sonic and Tails, and I'm sure Vector would have had some dumb gimmick that made him unplayable. Probably would have had to collect a certain amount of crabs to finish levels that everyone else could have just jumped through normally. Yeah, surprise, I'm still salty about that. So all in all, Sonic Jump 2012 is a game that I had fond memories of, and still had a good time playing when I came to revisit it for this video. I even got something out of a game that I thought I'd never play in the form of Java Jump, and then was almost immediately let down by its sequel. Hold on, Jump 2012 had a sequel too, didn't it? Sonic Jump Fever, a 2014 iOS Android game, and follow-up to the pretty decent Sonic Jump, is a huge disappointment, for me at least. Isn't it weird that the sequels to both good Jump games turned out to be lazier cash grabs instead of legit follow-ups? Instead of being a one-time purchase like its predecessor, this is indeed a free-to-play game, and you know what that means. An energy system, random drops, mandatory waiting that can be bypassed by spending this radical in-game currency. It's the whole shebang. They also removed dedicated levels in favor of making the entire game solely about beating your friend's scores, removed a level that was available in the previous game, Rouge is gone, and Cream and Vector are still nowhere to be seen. But hey, at least we finally got the Chow Garden back, right? Yeah, it's water under the bridge, don't you worry about it.
There is no bridge left. The water has run dry. Sega is the word mercy even in your vocabulary.
Yeah, so the Chow Garden, that's the biggest addition, I'd say, besides Shadow, who I didn't even get to play as, since I only played this for like 20 minutes before getting bored. Compare that to the over 2 hours of footage I have for Sonic Jump 2012, and even the 50 minutes I have for Java Jump. The file sizes do not lie, folks. The worst part is I remember being so excited about this feature when the game released, but I quickly learned that it was weaponized nostalgia for the sake of microtransactions. Basically, if you spend some rings, you'll find a Chow Egg, which will then hatch into a wonderful friend, and would you look at that face? He doesn't know he's being used for evil, it's not his fault. And then comes the skeevy part. You can equip the Chow and use it to get some bonuses during gameplay, but it will leave you forever after a certain amount of time, unless you play with it enough that it takes a liking to you, thus remaining by your side for all of eternity. Probably, I don't know, you probably shut the game off by now. The rarer the Chow, the harder this is to do, and if you're finding it a little bit too difficult to get that specific Chow to stick around, just buy their friendship with some red rings. That's a great lesson to teach the kids, Sega. This game actually has some of the most evil tactics I've seen in one of these games, aside from that whole wheel thing in Sonic Runners. They hook you in with some adorable Chow art and a useful ability here and there, and then they force you to spend every waking moment to try and fill their loyalty meter before they leave. But you yourself are restricted by an energy meter. So if you really, really want that Chow to stay, maybe you'll just have to pay to have your energy refilled, and Sega will dump another Monster Energy drink down the Blue Blur's throat so we can keep going for a while longer. This one just hits me a bit harder than Jump 2, since I do remember making the jump from Jump 2012 to Jump Fever and playing Fever for a few days before calling it quits forever, or at least until a couple days ago when I started planning this. It could have been great, but they removed so much of what made the original game fun in favor of maximizing profit. At least the original's still up on the app stores, both Android and Apple, so you can just play that one and have a great time. I guess at this point, it's just a rule of thumb that you should stay away from mobile sequels, especially if the future has anything to say about it. Though Sonic Dash 2 could be the exception to that. It's actually a lot better than the first one, and no amount of Pac-Man or fan service can change my mind on that. Wow, okay, I've been sitting on this one for like 3 weeks. It's been really hard getting these things done, but finally it's all done, and thank you so much for watching. I would like to also give a huge thank you to my current supporters, who are Mike TGC, KDoc64, Danny Dauber, Bean TDD, Silva PhD, Raiden Still Plays, Chaotic Mercenary, Ty Little Tech Guy, Jaded Indolent, Jeremy, Lucas Tallman, Mega Traffic Cone, Crystal, and on Patreon, AJ Rat, Cannon M. Bird, and Rob Morrison. Thank you so much for the support, I really appreciate it, and if you have any interest in supporting the channel yourself, go ahead and click the join button beneath the video, or check out the link to Patreon up in the card at the top right of the video. You get all kinds of bonuses, such as exclusive Discord roles, chats in the Discord with me where we play games and just have a good time every so often, and also access to exclusive bonus videos on the channel. And if any of that sounds interesting to you, please go ahead and check out those 2 things I said before. I'd really appreciate it, even $1 helps. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time.